What if I told you that being recorded on camera doesn't guarantee you'll be caught? That having witnesses on the phone with you doesn't mean you'll be found? That clear evidence doesn't always lead to justice? Have you ever felt safe because there were security cameras around? Because you could call for help? Because you trusted the system to protect you? Tonight, we're diving into three cases that will shatter those assumptions completely. We have crystal clear surveillance footage of a killer in full tactical gear, methodically preparing for murder. We have a 47-minute phone conversation documenting a young man's final moments as he vanished into thin air. We have a crime scene so brutal that investigators had everything they needed to solve it, yet the killers walked free. These aren't just cold cases gathering dust in police files. They're mysteries that have consumed Reddit's true crime community for years, spawning thousands of theories, debates, and amateur investigations that put professional detectives to shame. The users of r/unresolved mysteries refuse to let these cases die, dissecting every detail, every clue, every failure of the system. Hit that like button if you've ever gone down a Reddit rabbit hole on one of these cases, because tonight we're going deeper than you've ever gone before. These three cases will prove that sometimes having all the evidence in the world means absolutely nothing. The Missy Bevers Surveillance Paradox, Midlothian, Texas, population 30,000, where the biggest crime stories usually involve stolen packages or teenagers breaking curfew. April 18th, 2016, was supposed to be just another Monday morning for Terry Missy Bevers. At 45, she'd built the life every suburban mom dreams of. Loving marriage, 3 kids, and a thriving fitness business teaching Camp Gladiator boot camps. Storm clouds rolled across North Texas that morning, forcing Missy to move her 5 a.m. class indoors at Creekside Church of Christ. She'd done this routine hundreds of times before. Arrive early, unlock the building, set up equipment, greet her dedicated students who showed up rain or shine. In America's safest suburbs, what could possibly go wrong? At 3:50 a.m., 35 minutes before Missy arrived, the church security cameras began recording the most haunting footage in true crime history. A figure dressed in complete SWAT tactical gear, helmet, vest, gloves, began methodically moving through the building's corridors. Watch closely as this person breaks door handles with what appears to be a hammer. Notice how they smash windows for no apparent reason. Nothing gets stolen, nothing gets searched. This isn't a burglary, this is preparation. Look at this timestamp, 4:18 a.m. The killer casually strolls past the camera, swinging their weapon like they're heading to a weekend home improvement project. There's no urgency, no panic, no rush. They know exactly when their target will arrive. At 4:35 a.m., Missy's truck pulls into the parking lot. The cameras stop recording the killer's movements. 18 minutes later, the first student discovers Missy's body in the main hallway, killed by multiple puncture wounds consistent with a hammer-like tool. Pause this video right now and think, how many murder cases have we watched unfold on camera? Almost none. Yet here we have 4 minutes and 4 seconds of crystal clear footage, and the killer remains unidentified 8 years later. The r/unresolved mysteries community has turned this case into their personal obsession, with users analyzing every frame like FBI profilers. The killer's distinctive walk has generated over 15,000 comments across dozens of threads. User U/gait analysis expert posted a 47-point breakdown arguing the walk pattern indicates a woman. Another user, U/tactical gear pro, Insists the stride length and shoulder positioning screams male law enforcement officer. The community has created side-by-side comparison videos, hiring professional gait analysis experts, even timing the exact number of steps per minute. One Reddit user tracked down and analyzed the walking patterns of every person connected to the case: family members, church employees, even local police officers. Here's what makes this case absolutely maddening. We have everything investigators dream of: multiple camera angles, perfect lighting, extended footage, clear images of the suspect's gear and movements. In any other case, this would be game over. But the tactical gear creates the perfect disguise. The helmet obscures facial features and hair. The vest changes body shape and size. Heavy gloves hide distinctive hands or jewelry. The killer thought of everything. Reddit users have identified the specific brands of tactical gear, traced purchase records, analyzed local Army surplus stores and military bases in the area. They've created spreadsheets of everyone with access to professional-grade equipment. The community has essentially built a parallel investigation that rivals anything law enforcement has produced. Yet somehow this technological advantage becomes the killer's greatest protection. The very cameras meant to provide security created the perfect murder mystery: clear footage of an unidentifiable suspect who vanished into a Texas thunderstorm, leaving behind a grieving family in a community that will never feel safe again. The surveillance state failed when it mattered most, proving that sometimes being watched doesn't mean being caught. Brandon Swanson's impossible vanishing. Brandon Swanson was every parent's dream kid. 19 years old, college student at Minnesota West Community and Technical College, working toward his degree while living at home in Marshall, Minnesota. No criminal record, no drug problems, no reckless behavior. On May 13, 2008, he celebrated the end of spring semester at a friend's house in Canby, 30 miles from home. This could be your son, your brother, your neighbor's kid. Brandon made the responsible choice that night, staying sober while others drank, leaving the party early to drive home safely. At 1:15 a.m., he called his parents with what should have been a minor inconvenience. His car had slid into a roadside ditch. No injuries, no panic, just a stuck vehicle needing a tow. What happened next defies every logical explanation. Brandon's parents, Brian and Annette, immediately got in their car to help their son. For the next 47 minutes, they stayed on the phone with Brandon as he walked through the darkness, trying to guide them to his location. 1:15 a.m. I'm stuck in a ditch near Lind. 1:30 a.m. I can see lights from town. I'm walking toward them. 1:45 a.m. Flash your headlights, I should be able to see you. 2 a.m. This doesn't make sense. Where are you guys? 2:15 a.m. I'm going to start walking toward the lights I can see. His parents heard everything. Every footstep on gravel, every breath, every growing frustration in his voice as they couldn't find each other. Everything except what mattered most. At 2:30 a.m., Brandon suddenly shouted, "Oh shit!" and the line went dead. No sounds of a struggle, no car engine, no water splash, no screaming, just silence. Here's where this case breaks your brain. Brandon told his parents he was near Lynn, Minnesota. His car was found the next morning near Taunton, 10 miles away. This wasn't a small mistake about street names. This was as if Brandon had been transported to a completely different county. Consider this flat Minnesota farmland. Endless agricultural fields where you can see car headlights from miles away. No dense forests, no mountains, no urban maze to get lost in. This is terrain where visibility extends to the horizon, where local farmers know every road, every ditch, every landmark. The search area covered 122 square miles of this open landscape. Hundreds of volunteers, including experienced hunters who tracked deer across these same fields for decades. Search dogs, helicopters equipped with heat-seeking technology, ground crews with metal detectors, perfect weather conditions, optimal visibility, motivated searchers who knew Brandon personally. Result: zero evidence found. Not a clothing fiber, not a footprint, not a single trace that Brandon Swanson ever existed. The r/Unresolved Mysteries community has dissected this case with the dedication of professional investigators. Annual remembrance threads appear every May 14th, keeping Brandon's story alive when traditional media moves on to fresher tragedies. User U/Midwest Mystery created detailed topographical maps showing every possible walking route Brandon could have taken, calculating distances, timing, and sightlines. The geographic analysis posts span hundreds of pages, with users arguing over elevation changes measured in single feet. The theory wars divide the community into distinct camps. The river theory advocates insist Brandon fell into the Yellow Medicine River and drowned, despite extensive underwater searches finding nothing. The foul play theorists believe someone picked him up with malicious intent, explaining the sudden cutoff. The disorientation theory supporters argue Brandon was more impaired than anyone realized, leading to fatal confusion about his location. But here's what haunts every Reddit thread. How do you vanish completely in America's most searchable terrain while your parents listen to every step? His parents heard everything. Everything except what mattered most. Keddie Cabin Murders, the American dream corrupted. Sue Sharp needed a new beginning. After a brutal divorce, the 36-year-old mother packed up her 5 children and headed to the Keddie Resort in Northern California's Sierra Nevada mountains. The year was 1981, and Keddie offered exactly what struggling single mothers dreamed of: affordable cabin rentals, safe mountain air, and a tight-knit community where kids could heal from family trauma. Cabin 28 became their sanctuary. Sue worked as a house cleaner while raising John, 15, Sheila, 14, Tina, 12, Rick, 10, and Greg, 5. The older kids attended the local high school, made friends, brought home classmates for sleepovers. This was American resilience at its finest. A family rebuilding after devastation, creating stability through sheer determination. On April 11, 1981, Cabin 28 buzzed with typical suburban energy. John's friend Dana Wingate, 17, was spending the night, a common occurrence that made their home the neighborhood hangout spot. Sue tucked her younger boys into bed while the teenagers watched TV in the living room. Everything felt normal, safe, hopeful. April 12th, 8 a.m. 14-year-old Sheila returned from her own sleepover at a neighbor's house, ready to start another peaceful Sunday morning with her family. She opened the front door to Cabin 28 and discovered a scene that would haunt American true crime forever. Her mother, Sue, lay bound and beaten on the living room floor. John and Dana were positioned nearby, their bodies showing evidence of a prolonged, brutal attack. The killers had used multiple weapons: hammers, knives, a bent steel rod from the fireplace. Medical tape and electrical cord bound the victims, proving this wasn't a random burst of violence, but a calculated assault. But here's where logic completely breaks down. 10-year-old Rick and 5-year-old Greg had slept in the same room where their mother and brother were being murdered. They woke up unharmed, having somehow remained asleep through what must have been an extended, violent attack involving multiple weapons and multiple killers. How do two young children sleep through their family being tortured and killed 15 feet away? The boys reported hearing nothing, seeing nothing, experiencing nothing until their sister's screams woke them the next morning. 12-year-old Tina Sharp was missing entirely. For 3 agonizing years, her family clung to hope that she'd been kidnapped, that somewhere she was alive and might come home. 3 years later, they found her skull 50 miles away in Camp 18. What transforms this from a family annihilation into an American justice scandal is what happened next. The Plumas County Sheriff's Department had everything they needed: a limited number of suspects, clear motives, physical evidence, and witness statements. Yet somehow the investigation crumbled into deliberate incompetence. Evidence disappeared from storage rooms. Crime scene materials vanished. Key suspects with obvious connections to the victims were never properly questioned. Martin Smart, Sue's neighbor who'd shown romantic interest in her, left town immediately after the murders. His friend Bo Bubedi, a violent drifter with a criminal history, also vanished. Cabin 28 looked like any family home the morning of April 12th, but the evidence room was suspiciously empty within months of the murders. Reddit's r/unresolved mysteries community has spent years documenting the systematic destruction of this case. User u/Keddie Justice maintains spreadsheets tracking every piece of missing evidence, every bungled interview, every suspicious decision by local law enforcement. The corruption conspiracy threads reveal a pattern of small-town officials protecting their own. Anonymous letters received in 2018 directly accuse the Sheriff's Department of deliberately sabotaging the case to protect connected suspects. Justice advocacy communities have formed around the Keddie case, demanding accountability not just for the murders, but for the institutional failure that followed. When the system designed to protect families instead protects killers, what hope does justice have? Both primary suspects died before facing charges, taking their secrets to graves they didn't deserve, while the Sharp family continues fighting for answers 4 decades later. 3 cases, 3 failures of everything we trust to keep us safe. Missy Bevers proves that technology can't save us. Crystal clear surveillance footage means nothing when the killer plans perfectly. All our cameras, all our security systems, all our digital safety nets, useless against someone who understands the game better than we do. Brandon Swanson shows us that isolation can kill us. In America's wide open spaces, help can be just far enough away to be worthless. Your parents can hear your every breath, every footstep, every word, except the ones that matter most when you need rescue. The Keddie murders expose how systems can fail us. When the people sworn to protect and serve choose to cover up and forget, justice becomes just another broken promise. Evidence disappears, suspects walk free, families suffer in silence. But these cases live on because Reddit refuses to let them die. Thousands of amateur investigators keep digging when professionals give up. They analyze footage frame by frame, map geographic impossibilities, document corruption with the dedication of true believers in justice. The Bevers, Swanson, and Sharp families endure unimaginable pain, while strangers on the internet fight harder for answers than the system ever did. Subscribe for more deep dives into cases that demand justice. Share this video. Maybe someone out there knows something that could finally solve these mysteries. Join our community in the comments and tell us which case affected you most. Because sometimes the only investigation that matters is the one that never stops.